Hi everybody, nice to see y'all. My name's Rachel. Today I want to talk about something that I will call Amexit. As the name implies, it has ties to Brexit. Um, and it's not necessarily something that's going on now, but I think that the US right now is going through its form of Brexit, of breaking away from ruinous policies that do nothing for the people of those respective countries. And I think it's really, really important that the U.S. takes a good hard look at herself and see what her policies are doing, not just in terms of just internationally, but internally as well. I mean, as I said before in a previous video, I mean, a lot of people feel that there's a change that's coming, and they feel like something feels different, that this election is important. And while, you can be ambivalent or not about the election, I think it points at something very, very important. You have in a lot of these countries across the world, you have that sort of populism versus internationalism. And I think it's really important that we take the populism that seems to be spreading like wildfire very seriously. I mean, we as a people owe it to ourselves to know what's going on in this world, and it is our duty and responsibility to respond appropriately. Now, as we all know, we had Brexit, which was a symbol to a lot of people across the globe that internationalism does not necessarily mean that it's good for the people, nor that it's desirable by everyone across the board. And I think it's really important because it shows that a lot of people are waking up to the fact that perhaps not everything in this world is peachy keen, and that it is possible for citizens to decide for themselves what they actually want, regardless of all the stratagems that various political parties do to try and influence your opinion. Now, I think the US is actually in the throes of that, which I kind of call a Megxit. I mean, the US, like the UK, has engaged in policies that have actually done serious damage to our economy here and to our reputation across the globe. Um, we have policies here such as, we have TPP, which I think that if it were implemented, would do more to damage the economy and hurt the American worker than just about anything that preceded it. And I think it's very, very important that we do not sign that or engage in other policies that hurt the people in this country. I mean, we have so many things that we have countries like China producing. You go to a place like Walmart or wherever, and you find that most of the things that are in this country are not even American made, and that's really, really sad. I mean, this is America. We should be proud of making things here. We produce good quality things if we produce it here. But when you have policies that make it more expensive to buy things from this country than it does to get them mass produced from, say, China, um, then, I mean, there's something seriously messed up about that. There's something seriously wrong, and we need to reconsider a lot of these policies and a lot of these so-called treaties that have done more harm than good. I mean, most of the corporations and businesses here, even if you don't like it, even if you disagree with some of their policies and how they treat their workers, they go to other countries to make things. And that is just so messed up. I mean, do we not have pride anymore in this country where goods that are made here are of better quality than those that are made halfway across the world? I mean, where is our sense of pride and our sense of self about what we make here? I mean, we are told to be proud to be an American. There's tons of songs about that. But if we're so proud to be an American, why do we get most of our things made in China or made in Mexico or made name your third world, whatever? It makes very, very little sense to say that you're proud, and yet what does our country do? We export most of that overseas. It makes very little sense. And I think that most people now realize that the policies have failed us, that have been implemented, that have been in practice for 20, 30 plus years, that they don't work anymore. And that the ideas that our founding fathers had, they make sense. They're beautiful and elegant in their simplicity. And we need to go back to things that actually worked and that actually benefited the majority of people in this country. Now, are there flaws? Certainly. But I believe that if we go back to what made us a truly great country, then we could fix those problems, or we can start and make some real progress on things that matter. I mean, focusing on, on the things like that mean absolutely nothing to you, to your everyday life, and how, how you handle your finances or whatever, aren't tied to things like Hollywood or this plastic culture that forces you to focus on things that have very little value, that do not add anything to your life. What we need to focus on are things that are seriously wrong in this country. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I agree with, every policy that comes down the pike. All that means is I think that we need to take a serious, hard look at what our country has done and on how we can make ourselves better. And I think one of the first steps that we can take to make ourselves a better country, a better people, and to instill respect from around the world is to actually withdraw from some of the things that we do overseas. That does not mean that we become isolationist. What that means is we actually are fair to ourselves and to other countries across the world. And that we stop doing things that are harmful to other people, to other nations, and let them handle their business, and so that we can handle ours. I mean, it makes, and as I said, I'm more libertarian in what I believe in, and that is what I really and truly believe. I mean, if we think that we are so good, and I believe that we are good, then we need to show it rather than impose it. It's a huge difference when you impose something rather than just show. It's that sort of do as I say but not as I do, which is what I view a lot of U.S. policy right now, is do as I say, but don't do what I'm doing. And that's sincerely messed up. And we do need, as I said, we do need to get out of these things that are inherently harmful, that do more damage. I mean, we can't say on one hand, like, oh yeah, we need to help all these places across the world, but we do very little to actually help the people in this country. And one of the best things that I think that we can do to ensure wealth and prosperity in this country is to cut loose from all these treaties and all these agreements that do nothing, absolutely nothing, for the majority of the American people. And I think that once we do that, and once we actually are willing to take that change, to make that step for that change, things will get better. We'll have, there'll be hiccups along the way. And those that really don't want it will fight tooth and nail to ensure that their system that they want gets, progresses. But I think that is up to us, the American people, to do something that actually benefits you instead of sitting on the sidelines. And just like the people in the UK who were told over and over and over by the mainstream media and all these other sources and by people getting assassinated, that, you know what, we know what we want for ourselves. We know what would be better for us. And even if it doesn't happen this time, just as far as getting out of, or extricating ourselves rather, from these inherently negative and evil things, at least we can say that we had our voice heard and that we can still continue to fight. I mean, just because you lose an election doesn't mean you stop fighting for things. All it means is that, it gives you something to start from. And I think that even if we don't win this round, it gives us something that, you know what, we can do change, and we have the power to change it. And at any point, if we don't like it, we don't have to comply. It is a duty, it is a responsibility to be a citizen, to have freedom in this country. I mean, you don't just get poof, freedom. You have to fight for it. It's anything worth having, you have to fight for in this world. And I think nothing is clearer than what this election signifies. And even if you don't like either the candidates or choose not to vote or whatever, I think that it is important that you become involved, that you become aware of these things. And I do realize that I'm probably one small voice in a huge, melting pot that is YouTube of ideas. But I do intend on not just saying this and doing nothing and retreating back into my safe, comfortable world, but actually doing that which enhances the freedom of not only myself, but of other citizens across the world. And of course, in my own country and in my own state, because I'm a proud Texan, so rock on Texas. But as I said, we as people, it is our responsibility to fight and to never, ever, ever give up. Victor Hugo once said, you cannot stop an idea whose time has come. And you know what? We're quick upon that. And we can get off this ride. We can change this ride. We can change the course of history. We don't have to follow the Roman model that eventually collapsed under its own weight of its foreign policy and its economic problems and such. We can do so much to enhance the lives of the people here if we are willing to do it. And yeah, that will be a fight too. An election, yeah, it's an election. It's basically a tie. It's basically, this is what people are feeling right now. Well, an election doesn't mean you stop fighting and just go, okay, well, I put in my vote, I don't care anymore. It's something that you need, or that we need, that I need to keep fighting. Because we really can take over the world and do immensely better than we have before. And if we are willing to take our country back from the people that think they own it, from these so-called owners, then I think that then there isn't anything that we can't do. And as I said, I call this Amexit, and it's time for America to take a stand, to do what is right, to do what is moral, not just for ourselves, but for everyone across the world. We used to be a beacon of hope and progress and prosperity about what people are capable of when they're under the auspices of freedom. And we should be that again. We should definitely be that again. Well, anyway, thank you guys. I'm about to wrap up. For the next topic, I'm going to talk about this, Putinism, in The Economist. I came across this today, so I'm going to read over it and give my thoughts on that. I'm not a Russophile by any means, but I do think it's important to pay attention to other countries across the world, and get an idea of what their opinions, thoughts, etc. are. And granted it. And anyway, so when I come back on, as I have a busy weekend with work and all, that's what I hope to be discussing in my next video. Thank you much. Y'all have a good day. And love, peace, and hair grease.